Well, joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Linord Moudou. What do you have for us today, Linord?
Hello, Vincent. Well, experts are raising the alarm on the growing antimicrobial resistance of worldwide diseases. Researchers at the Center for Disease Dynamics, Economics and Policy, CDDEP, say there are alarming rates of bacteria resistant to last resort antibiotics. The findings were released via CDDEP's Resistance Map, an interactive online tool tracking the latest global trends in drug resistance in 39 countries and antibiotic use in 69 countries. The data show that antibiotic resistance is a serious problem in low- and middle-income countries. Recently, G7 health ministers meeting in Berlin spoke of the urgent need to fight growing antimicrobial resistance to worldwide diseases.
On
top of the list, there is the issue of antibiotic resistance. We have seen an increase of more than 35% in human medicine from 2000 to 2010 alone. And only in every 4 countries there are some strategies dealing with the issue of resistance.
Antimicrobial resistance happens when microbes start developing immunity to medication, making it harder to treat and prevent infection. This has led to the rise of superbugs, which are resistant to multiple antibiotics and can travel quickly across borders. Dr. Margaret Chan, Director General of the World Health Organization.
Now, we do feel that we support the appropriate use of antibiotics to treat sick people or to treat sick animals. But the use of antibiotics as a growth promoter is something we discourage countries to take steps to exit gradually, because at the end of the day, the antibiotic residual in the meat, in the seafood that you are buying will also, give you over time the problem.
Es ist klar, Krankheiten kennen keine Grenzen.
The question of effectiveness of antibiotics depends on behavior in our country, but also from a worldwide effort.
Medical experts say gonorrhea is now resistant to multiple classes of drugs, while a multi-drug-resistant typhoid fever has been found in parts of Asia and Africa. The German government has announced 50 million euros in funding towards developing antimicrobial-resistant medications together with the G7. Joining us in our studio for more on the subject is Hellen Gelband, Associate Director of the Center for Disease Dynamics, Economics and Policy, CDEP. Ms. Gelband, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
So you were one of the researchers who actually conducted this research on the state of the world's antibiotics. Tell us about your findings in terms of what is happening in sub-Saharan Africa in particular.
Yes, all over the world.
Okay. Okay, can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, we have been working a program called the Global Antibiotic Resistance Partnership, including Southern and East African countries since about 2009. Okay. So we've been working with people and have found that contrary to what you often hear, there really are good data. Nobody has gone out and tried to scour and find them and really put them all together, which is what we've done. And what you find is that everywhere you look, yes, antibiotic resistance is increasing and antibiotic use is also increasing.
But what are the issues here? Because when you look at the way antibiotics are being regulated in different countries, most of the time, at least from what I know, you need a prescription. The doctor will give a prescription, or the doctor will use it for a patient. So what are the issues? What have you found?
Well, a couple of things. It's true that almost every country in the world has a prescription law, but I think you probably know that there are an awful lot of countries you can go to, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and in Asia, where you can buy an antibiotic over the counter from a pharmacy or a drug shop or even just a roadside kiosk. So that's part of it. But, another thing you mentioned, yes, the doctor gives you a prescription. Well, it turns out that doctors are not always the best antibiotic stewards either. And we estimate that about half of the antibiotics used, even from a doctor's prescription, are probably unnecessary. And they're for things like colds and sniffles that are caused by viruses that wouldn't be cured by an antibiotic.
A lot of times people tend to think, oh, I don't feel well, I have a cold, let me use an antibiotics. And you're really mentioning something very important. Now, quickly, before we go, what national level strategies can help countries combat antibiotic resistance?
Well, there are a few things. One, they can increase the use of vaccines and sanitation and things like that. Some of the footage that we saw shows you conditions where disease spreads quite rapidly. So one thing you can do, which is the best thing for everyone, is to prevent more disease. But you can also have rules in hospitals that, even though hospitals only use about 20% of the antibiotics, there are a lot of really sick people there and they transmit disease pretty quickly, and we know some of the very simple things that you can do to improve that. But probably underlying everything, the most important thing is government involvement and really, making sure that they know it's really important, and that's happening finally.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gelband. That's all the time we have. With us today was Hellen Gelband, Associate Director, Center for Disease Dynamics, Economics, and Policy. And that's our Africa Health Report for today. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Linord. Now, be sure to watch for Linord Moudou every Tuesday and Thursday for the latest health news in Africa, right here on Africa 54.